This is the story of something that happened to me one night on a long, empty highway. I'm going to tell you everything exactly as it happened. No extra drama, no lies, just the truth. And let me warn you, it's not the kind of story you can just forget after hearing. It started on a Friday evening. I had just finished a long day of work and was driving back home from a small town 3 hours away. I could have stayed the night, but I felt like I just wanted to sleep in my own bed. You know that feeling, right? So I filled up the tank, grabbed some snacks, and hit the road. The sun had already gone down, and soon I was surrounded by nothing but darkness and the sound of my car humming along the asphalt. It was one of those highways that cuts through deep forest. No streetlights, no towns for miles, just trees, shadows, and the road stretching endlessly ahead. At first, it was peaceful, the kind of calm you get when it's just you, your car, and silence. But about an hour in, I noticed something strange. I passed a white sedan parked on the side of the road with its hazard lights blinking. I slowed down a bit, wondering if I should stop and help. But something felt off. I didn't see anyone inside or around the car. The driver's door was open, but no movement. My stomach tightened, and I just kept driving. I told myself maybe someone already helped them or they went to find help. But here's where it starts getting weird. About 15 minutes later, I saw it again. The same white sedan, same blinking hazard lights, same open driver's door. I thought, maybe my mind was playing tricks. Maybe it was a different car. But no, it had the same dent on the back bumper, same broken side mirror. I knew it was the same one. I stared at it as I passed, slower this time. Still no one around. Just sitting there like it had been waiting. I felt a cold chill on my back. I locked the doors, even though I didn't know what I was scared of yet. I told myself to keep calm, not to panic. "You're just tired," I whispered. "Your eyes are playing tricks." Another 15 minutes went by, nothing unusual. I started to relax again, and then I saw it again. That same white sedan. Same spot on the side of the road. Same exact position, same open door. Now I know you're probably thinking, maybe there were 3 cars that just looked the same. But no. It was the same car. That was the moment I knew something was wrong. Deeply wrong. I pressed harder on the gas. My heart was beating, so loud I could hear it in my ears. I didn't even care about speed limits anymore. I just wanted to get out of that part of the highway. Then, just as I thought I had escaped that nightmare, I saw something in my rearview mirror. The white sedan headlights on now, following me. I nearly screamed. I didn't even hear it start. It was just there, behind me. At first I thought maybe it was coincidence. Maybe someone was driving it now. Maybe they had gotten help, and now they were just heading the same way. But the way they drove, it wasn't normal. They matched every move I made. When I sped up, they sped up. When I changed lanes slightly, they did too. I tried to trick them. I slowed down suddenly like I was going to stop. They slowed too, like a shadow copying my every move. And then the headlights turned off, just like that. No lights, nothing. The car was still behind me though. I could feel it. I kept looking back and saw just the faint shape of it in the moonlight, following silently. That's what scared me the most. No sound, no light, just something watching me. I felt like I was being hunted. There was no signal out there. My phone was useless. No GPS, no calling for help. I was completely alone on that highway. Then I remembered something. About 30 miles ahead, there was a small gas station. Not one of those big branded ones. Just a tiny place with flickering lights and a soda machine that never worked. I'd passed it before on other trips. It was old, but it was something. Maybe there'd be a person there. Maybe a phone. So I made a decision. I would drive straight there. I didn't care if my tank ran low or if the car broke down. I was going to make it. I drove like my life depended on it. That thing behind me never gave up, never got closer, never fell too far behind. Just stayed there, like it was waiting for something. Finally, I saw the faint light of the gas station ahead. I felt a wave of relief. I pulled in fast, jumped out, and ran to the door. It was locked, of course, but the lights were on inside, so I banged on the glass. "Hello? Anyone there? Please open up." After a few seconds, an old man came out from the back. He looked half asleep and confused, but when he saw the panic on my face, he unlocked the door and let me in. I rushed in and tried to explain, talking fast, barely breathing. He just looked at me quietly, then walked to the window. "That car behind you," he said slowly. "White sedan?" I nodded. "Yes. Yes. How do you know?" He didn't answer at first, just kept staring out the window. Then he said something I'll never forget. "It's not the first time someone came in here running from that car." I froze. He told me he'd been working there for 15 years. Every couple of months, someone would show up late at night, terrified, telling the same story. A white sedan, hazard lights, no driver. Then the chase. Each time, he said, the car would stop just outside the station, wait for a few minutes, then disappear. I turned to look. It was gone. The parking lot was empty. Not a single sound outside. He let me use the station phone to call my brother. I told him where I was and begged him to come get me. I waited inside that gas station for 2 hours, shaking, drinking awful coffee from an old machine that hadn't been cleaned in years. My brother finally arrived. I didn't even look back when I got into his car. I just wanted to be far from that highway. Since that night, I've never taken that route again, and I never drive at night if I can help it. Some people say it's just a ghost story, that maybe I was too tired or had imagined it, but I know what I saw. That white sedan was real, and it was watching me. So, if you're ever on a dark highway and you see a car with its hazard lights blinking and the driver's door open, don't stop, just keep driving. And whatever you do, don't look back. Do you still want to drive alone at night now? This is the story of something that happened to my cousin Ravi. And once I tell you, I swear, you'll never look at highways the same way again. It's not made up. It's not a joke. It really happened. And the way Ravi told it, his voice shaking, eyes wide like he'd seen something his brain couldn't explain, it stuck with me ever since. Ravi drives trucks for a living, big ones, carries goods from one city to another. Sometimes he drives through the night just to make it on time. That's what he was doing that evening. He had a delivery to make from Jaipur to Delhi, a route he's taken 100 times before. But that night, something was waiting for him on the highway. It was late. Around 1:30 a.m., the road ahead was dead silent. You know how highways get. At that hour, No honking, no headlights, just the long stretch of black road under a sleepy moon. Ravi had music on, chewing gum to stay awake, sipping cheap chai he picked up earlier at a dhaba. Then he saw her. A girl, standing on the side of the road. She wasn't waving, wasn't crying, just standing. Still, like a statue. Long black hair, pale face, white clothes. At first, Ravi thought she might be in trouble. Maybe she got into an accident. Maybe her car broke down. He slowed the truck a bit, leaned out the window and shouted, "Madam, are you okay?" She didn't move, didn't even blink, just stared. Ravi felt this strange twist in his stomach, a deep gut-level feeling that something wasn't right. He drove past her slowly, and that's when he glanced at his side mirror. She was gone, just like that. No footsteps, no running, no sound. Gone. He blinked a few times, thinking maybe he imagined it, but his hands were sweating on the wheel. He turned the music down, and that's when things started getting weird. Every few kilometers, she'd appear again, standing at the side of the road, same white clothes, same blank face. No matter how fast Ravi drove, how many turns he took, she would appear again. Like the road itself was playing tricks on him. Once she was standing right in the middle of the road. He swerved hard to avoid her, heart thumping so loud it hurt his chest. The truck nearly tipped. He stopped for a second, shaking, trying to calm down. He opened the door, stepped out, looked around. Nothing. No girl. No sound. Just the wind through dry grass and the sound of crickets. That's when he noticed something. His truck engine was still running, but there was this low humming noise under it. A soft, steady whispering. It wasn't the radio, wasn't wind. It sounded like someone whispering from under the truck. He crouched down and looked. No one. But the whispering continued. He climbed back in and floored it. Whatever this was, he wanted out. But the road had changed. You might think I'm exaggerating now, but I swear I'm not. Ravi said the road suddenly looked different. The trees on the side were too tall, too black, like shadows stretching up, forever. The white lines on the highway started curving, almost like they were melting. And then, the worst part, he looked in the rearview mirror. She was sitting in the back seat of his truck. How? It's a single-seater, no space in the back. But she was there, her head tilted to the side, her black hair hiding half her face. He screamed, actually screamed, swerved the truck wildly, closed his eyes. When he opened them, she was gone again, that the road was back to normal. He pulled over, breathing so hard he thought he'd pass out. He wiped his face, checked his pulse, even slapped himself to see if he was dreaming. But it was all real. Too real. He sat there for maybe 5 minutes, staring out at the black road, trying to decide what to do. Turn back? Sleep in the truck? Till morning? But something deep inside told him, don't stop. So he drove. The final stretch was the worst. Just before sunrise, the light was starting to turn gray, that eerie time when it's neither night nor morning. That's when Ravi saw the signboard for a small village off the highway. He didn't remember it being there before, but the road felt familiar. Safe even. He turned, followed the narrow road into the village. Everything was quiet. No people, no dogs, not even the usual temple bells you hear in the early morning. He stopped near a small tea stall and got down. And then, something off. The people in the village looked strange. Their faces were dull. No expressions. They stared at him, not blinking, not moving. Like they weren't alive. A little boy walked up to him and said, "You saw her, didn't you?" Ravi's throat went dry. He asked, "Who?" The boy just smiled, but it wasn't a child's smile. It was wrong, wide, empty. Everyone who sees her ends up here. That was enough. Ravi didn't wait. He jumped back into his truck and turned around. The village behind him faded away like fog. He made it to Delhi by 9 a.m. Pale, trembling, and a day early on his delivery. He didn't say a word to his manager, just handed over the papers and went home. I didn't believe him when he told me. I laughed even. Come on, man. A ghost girl? A vanishing village? But then he showed me his phone. He had taken a picture. Accidentally, he said. The phone must have clicked when he dropped it on the seat in panic. In the picture, you can see the truck's steering wheel, dashboard, and in the mirror behind, a face. White, half covered in black hair. No eyes, just empty sockets. He doesn't drive at night anymore, not even short trips. And if he hears someone say they saw a woman in white on the highway, he just walks away. Now I know some people won't believe this. Maybe you're thinking, it's just another scary story. But if you ever find yourself driving alone, on a dark highway and you see a woman standing quietly by the roadside, don't stop, don't talk, and for God's sake, don't look in the mirror. Because once you do, she finds you, and she never lets go. Still want to take that night drive, alone? This is the story of a man named Arvind. I've known him for years, and he's always been the kind of guy who laughs off anything that scares him. He's the first to dismiss any ghost story as just a bad dream, or someone's wild imagination. But what happened to him one night on the highway? I'm telling you, he's never been the same since. And trust me, once you hear this, you'll never want to be driving alone at night. It all started on a cold autumn evening. Arvind was on his way back from a business trip in the mountains, traveling along one of those lonely stretches of highway that never seemed to end. The sun had just set, and the road was bathed in the kind of dusky light that makes everything feel more mysterious, like something is hiding just beyond the edge of your vision. Arvind wasn't worried. He had made this drive many times. It was the quickest route home, and he knew every curve and bump by heart. But that night, something was different. As he drove through the thick forest, the temperature seemed to drop sharply, and a fog began to roll in. It wasn't the kind of mist you expect. Thick and suffocating, it wrapped around the car like it had a mind of its own. The headlights barely cut through the gloom, and the road seemed to disappear right in front of him. Arvind slowed down, gripping the wheel tighter. It was a familiar road, but tonight it felt off. He wasn't the kind of person to get spooked easily, but as he kept driving, something strange started to happen. He couldn't shake the feeling that something was watching him, not just from the rearview mirror or from the edges of the road, but something deeper, something watching him from the forest itself. The trees felt too still, too quiet. No wind, no rustling leaves. Just silence. The kind of silence that makes your skin crawl. And that's when he saw her. At first, it was just a shape standing by the side of the road. Just a figure in the distance. But as he got closer, he saw that it was a woman. Her face was pale, almost ghostly, and she was wearing a long, flowing white dress. Arvin thought maybe she had broken down, needed help. He slowed the car and rolled down the window to ask if she was okay. But before he could speak, the woman raised her hand, slowly, deliberately, and pointed directly at him. Arvin froze. There was something about the way she pointed at him that sent a chill down his spine. It wasn't like a regular gesture. It felt almost demanding, like she was asking him to stop, to turn around, to pay attention. He couldn't explain why, but he suddenly felt a deep, overwhelming urge to get away from her. He hit the gas and sped off without a second thought. But as soon as he looked in the rearview mirror, he saw her again. The woman was standing in the middle of the road now, right behind the car. He slammed the brakes, heart pounding. He turned to look, but when he glanced back at the mirror, she was gone. Vanished. Like she'd never been there at all. Okay, this is ridiculous, Arvin muttered to himself, trying to shake off the feeling that had taken over him. It's just the fog. That's all. You're just tired. But, even as he said it, he couldn't convince himself. He felt unsettled, like something wasn't right. He decided to pull over and take a break, hoping to calm his nerves. He parked on the shoulder of the highway, turned off the engine, and stepped out of the car. The air was cold, and the fog had thickened, making it hard to see more than a few feet in front of him. As he stood there, trying to take deep breaths, the silence pressed in on him. It felt heavier, like the world was holding its breath. That's when he heard it, a soft tapping sound, faint at first but unmistakable. Tap, tap, tap. It was coming from the car. Arvin's heart stopped. He turned and rushed back to the car, his mind racing. He glanced around, trying to see what could be making the noise. But there was nothing. No one. Just the fog, thick as ever. He reached for the door handle, but before he could open it, the tapping stopped. He froze, hand hovering over the handle. And then, in the silence, he heard a voice. A whisper, so faint that it seemed to come from deep inside his head rather than from the outside world. Drive away. It wasn't a suggestion. It was a command. Without thinking, Arvin jumped into the car, started the engine, and peeled out of there faster than he'd ever driven in his life. His hands were shaking as he gripped the wheel. He didn't care about the fog anymore, didn't care about the road. All that mattered was getting away from whatever was out there. But as he sped down the highway, something strange started to happen again. The road began to change. The trees, which had been so still earlier, were now leaning toward him. They seemed to reach out, like the branches were stretching toward the car, trying to pull him in. The road itself seemed to twist and curve in ways that didn't make sense, as if the path was being reshaped by some unseen force. And then, he saw her again. The woman. She was standing in the middle of the road, her white dress billowing in the wind, hair flowing behind her. She was no longer on the side of the road. No, now she was directly in his path, blocking the way. Arvin slammed the brakes, heart pounding, but just as he was about to hit the woman, she vanished. Just disappeared. He skidded to a halt, the car swerving dangerously, but when he looked around, the road was clear. The woman was gone. The trees were no longer reaching out to him, and the fog was starting to lift. The world around him was returning to normal. But Arvin knew it wasn't over. He knew something was following him, something that wanted him to see it, something that wanted him to remember. Shaken, he drove the rest of the way home, keeping his eyes glued to the rearview mirror the entire time, but nothing happened. The rest of the drive was uneventful, almost too normal. But when he got home, he couldn't shake the feeling that he had just crossed into a different world. A world where the rules of reality didn't quite apply. The next day, Arvind went to the local police station to ask about the woman. But when he described her, the officers looked at him like he was crazy. "There's no one on that road, son," one of them said. "People get lost out there all the time, especially in the fog. It plays tricks on your mind." Arvind didn't argue. But deep down, he knew what he saw. He knew it wasn't just his imagination. And the worst part? The part that really got to him was that, after that night, he could never drive that highway again. Every time he tried to, his hands would shake, his heart would race, and that feeling of being watched would return, stronger than before. He never mentioned the woman again, but I could see it in his eyes. The fear, the terror. It changed him. So, if you ever find yourself driving alone late at night and you see a woman in white standing by the side of the road, whatever you do, don't stop. Keep driving and never look back. All right, buckle up, because I've got a story for you. A story that'll make you think twice before you ever drive alone at night, especially on a dark and lonely highway. This one isn't some urban legend or ghost story passed around for fun. No, this one is real. And it happened to someone I know. Someone who still can't shake the nightmare, even after years have passed. It all started with my friend, Jay. You might think this is just another he said, she said kind of story. But believe me, Jay's not the type to make stuff up. He's a rational guy, the kind who would laugh off any talk of ghosts, spirits, or the supernatural. So, when he told me what happened to him one night, I knew he was serious. Jay had just finished a late-night shift at work. He was driving home along the same highway he had taken hundreds of times before. It's one of those isolated stretches, the kind where there's nothing but miles of road, fields, and trees on either side. If you've ever driven on a highway like that, you know the feeling. It's the kind of place where time seems to stand still, and the quiet feels unnatural. It's so quiet, you start to wonder if the world outside your car still exists. That night, the air was unusually thick with fog, even for that highway. The kind that seeps into the car, chills your bones, and makes your headlights seem like they're cutting through a wall of smoke. But Jay wasn't worried. He had made this trip so many times before that he could practically drive it blindfolded. He was cruising along, thinking about getting home and unwinding with a cold beer, when he saw something up ahead. At first, it looked like a person standing by the side of the road. Just a silhouette in the mist, but the figure seemed odd. Tall, maybe too tall. And there was something about the way they stood, unnaturally still, like they were waiting for something. Jay slowed the car as he got closer. He figured maybe the person was a hitchhiker, though it was unusual to see anyone out there in the middle of nowhere at this hour. As he approached, he noticed a few more strange details. The figure was wearing a long coat, too long, almost, dragging on the ground. The closer he got, the more it seemed like the coat was fluttering in the wind, but there was no wind. None at all. Jay wasn't sure why, but something about this person made him uncomfortable. He was about to roll down his window and ask if they needed help, when the figure turned its head toward the car. Jay's heart skipped a beat. The face was covered in shadows, but he could make out the eyes. Wide, too wide, like they were stretched, open in a way that wasn't natural. It wasn't a glance either, it was a stare. A cold, unnerving stare that sent a chill right through him. And then, for a split second, Jay could have sworn the figure smiled, but it wasn't a normal smile. It was a twisted, unsettling grin that made Jay's blood run cold. He didn't know why, but he hit the gas and sped past the figure without a second thought. He didn't want to stop. Didn't want to know who or what that person was. He just wanted to get as far away from that spot as possible. But the weirdest thing happened then. As he sped up, he looked in the rearview mirror. The figure was no longer by the side of the road. It was right behind him. Jay slammed on the brakes, his heart racing in his chest. He whipped his head around, trying to catch a glimpse of what was behind him, but the road was empty. There was nothing there. He exhaled sharply, trying to calm himself. "You're just tired, Jay. You're imagining things," he muttered to himself. But deep down, he knew he hadn't imagined the figure. He hadn't imagined that twisted smile. Shaken, but determined to keep going, he slowly pressed the gas again and continued on the highway. But the air felt thicker now, as if the fog had gotten even heavier. And it wasn't just the fog that had him on edge. It was the feeling, an almost suffocating sense that something was watching him. He couldn't shake the sensation that he was being followed, like the road itself had turned against him. He turned on the radio, hoping the noise would calm his nerves. Static filled the speakers at first, then an old song came through. But even the music couldn't drown out the feeling that something wasn't right. And that's when he saw it. In the distance, on the side of the road, was a faint figure. Jay slowed down, trying to focus, but his eyes were too blurry from the fog. He tried to ignore it, but something told him to pay attention. As he neared the figure, he could see the shape more clearly. It was standing by a lamppost, but the light around it flickered, on and off, like the electricity was unstable. And then, just like before, the figure turned, slowly. It faced the car, its eyes locking onto his. Jay's grip on the wheel tightened. The hair on the back of his neck stood up. He tried to turn the wheel to avoid getting too close to it, but no matter how much he swerved, the figure stayed in his path, like it was drawn to him. He floored the gas, swerving to the other lane, but when he looked back, the figure was gone. Vanished. He didn't even slow down this time. He didn't want to look back. He didn't want to know if it was still there, still watching. But that wasn't the end of it. Jay kept driving, his mind racing. Every time he thought about stopping to gather himself, the thought of that figure, that smile, made him push the accelerator harder. He needed to get home. He needed to feel safe again. But something strange kept happening. Every few miles, he would catch a glimpse of something in the distance. A shadow, a figure. Sometimes on the side of the road, sometimes in the rearview mirror. Each time, he would glance away and look back, and it would be gone, like it had never been there at all. When he finally pulled into his driveway, he was sweating, exhausted, and scared out of his mind. He got out of the car without even locking it, barely remembering to shut the door. The house was dark, and the air outside was still. He could feel his pulse racing, his body tense with fear. But when he turned around, there was nothing. Nothing except the silence. That's when he heard it. A voice. Low, just above a whisper, but unmistakable. "I see you." Jay froze. His eyes darted around, but there was no one there. He ran inside, locked the door, and didn't leave the house. For days. He couldn't shake the feeling that the thing he'd seen on the road was still following him, still watching. It wasn't a person. It wasn't a ghost. It was something else. Something that existed just outside of reality. A shadow. in the fog. To this day, Jay won't talk about what happened on that highway. But I'll tell you this. If you're ever driving late at night and you see someone standing by the side of the road, don't stop. Don't even slow down. Because once you do, you're not just on the road anymore. You're part of the story. And that story has no ending.